Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on international claims handling. I see that some of you have already joined in previous meetings and previous webinars on the different countries that we did before of our group. So welcome back. For the ones that are here for the first time, let me give you a heads up about our aim of these webinars. We deal in these webinars with international claims, but what we have seen throughout our claims handling and that we all forget most of the time, that we have to handle according to local legislation of the country where you are having the accident. And we get sometimes into discussions, but in my country it is like this. And we wanted to set up the webinars to clarify and to see if there's some topics that we can discuss and show you how it works in every country. So today, in our series of international webinars, we want to highlight Portugal and Spain, which also have their differences and particularities, which you should keep in mind when you handle in an accident that occur in those countries. Our offices in Portugal and Spain, I can tell you that Portugal is existing since 1988, and our Spanish office is on the market since 1963. So I do think that we can keep you in good hands later on with all the people that we have in our teams within the different roles. I do think that are capable of handling the claims and answering your questions. In our overview of today, you can see which subjects we will touch upon. It's of course a selection of what is all going on in all the different in both of the countries, and we hope that the topics interest you. I think the conventions is something important in both of our countries. It has not so much to do with international claims handling, but it has to do with the mindset in our countries, because the conventions are led by time slots, and the time slots will give an expectation to how quick you need to, or how quick it is expected that you will answer, and that is, I see that back in international claims. So it's not all mañana in Spain and in Portugal. People really put some speed on it. So I think that is interesting to start with. Then, of course, we go over the traditional claims handling and the reporting regulations, specific time limits, and of course, fraud, which is very different for us in the south than it is in the north of Europe. Now, let's go to some introductions. You see several people on the screen. My name is Frank Verschuur. I'm the Regional Director for Van Ameyde Southwest, which holds, besides Spain and Portugal, also France and Italy, for which we did a previous webinar, I think a year ago. Then, of course, more important, the people who will talk today. Today it's Rianne van Heijst and Rodrigo Doré. They will take you through their countries and explain some interesting topics. Rianne is the operational manager for Spain. She worked since 2000 for Van Ameyde Spain and fulfilled different roles in her Van Ameyde career in Spain. And before that, she worked for the Peace Palace in The Hague in the Netherlands. Thank you, Rianne, for being here, and good luck. Rodrigo Doré is the operational manager for Portugal, also has some years with the company. Rodrigo started in 2005, also went through different roles in his career until in 2015, he started as the operational manager in Portugal. And before that, he also worked for an insurance company in Portugal. So I think you are in good hands, and I hope you will enjoy this webinar with us. So Rodrigo, I'll leave it to you, and good luck.
Thanks, Frank. Welcome, everyone. Like Frank referred, my name is Rodrigo Doré, and I'm the operational manager of Portugal for the last 9 years. I've worked for some insurance companies, as well for some competitors of Van Ameyde, a total of more than 30 years in the business insurance. Van Ameyde Portugal, like Frank commented, started in '88, and our office is in Lisbon. Rianne, please.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. My name is Rianne van Heijst, like Frank mentioned, and I'm Operations Manager of Van Ameyde Spain. I'm working already since 24 years in Van Ameyde. Company has been founded in 1963, and our office is located in Barcelona, where we have 50 employees. My principal daily tasks are, apart from managing the several departments that we have here in Barcelona, the rollout of new clients, discussing improvement with the existing ones, hiring new employees, organizing seminars, etc. Well, Rodrigo, let's start about the conventions in Portugal.
Yes, conventions. And the first question that you could ask is why we have included local conventions in the cross-border claims. Because this was really the kickoff for handling the files in a more strict way and with deadlines. After this, we started to handle all the files in a similar way and with comparable deadlines, and we apply it in certain cross-border claims. Conventions are not binding to the insurance companies, nor they are binding to the parties involved. This means if one of the parties involved may not accept the decision of the agreement, and he can complain in the civil court. For many conventions existing in Portugal, I have chosen three. Let's start with these two. IDS. The two companies need to be members of the convention, and the statement of facts must be signed by both drivers. Until recently, they only accept material damage, but now they can accept minor bodily injury. IDS is basically the same as IDS, but just only need a signature or one claim, of course. This will change also and increase a bit more the deadlines of the handling side. But now I'll give the word to Rihanna so that she can explain a bit of the two first conventions, since they are a bit similar to the ones that I just explained.
Well, in Spain, on the contrary, there is an obligation to adhere to the conventions if you are operating on the Spanish market. It's important to know for the international cross-border claim handling that there exist agreements between different insurance entities to handle claims via a technological platform. That convention in Spain is called SICOS. It was created in 1993 to simplify and speed up the claim handling of material damages produced between insured vehicles and entities operating on the Spanish market. Today, almost 70% of the material damage claims are resolved through the SICOS system. So this means that when foreign insurers want to start a freedom of service in Spain and want to operate on the Spanish market, they have to adhere to this convention. Apart from getting registered in the general Spanish insurance organism, or to get a green card code in the Spanish Bureau, or even to be a member of the Guarantee Fund, it's compulsory to adhere to this convention. When does SICOS apply? Well, the vehicles involved in the collision must be registered in Spain. Accident must be a direct collision between vehicles. Only two vehicles should be involved in the collision. But of course, there are a lot of exclusions which have been covered by another convention called SDM, Material Damage Claims, has been created in 2002 and covers, for example, claims involving more than two vehicles, cases in which there is no direct collision between vehicles, material damage unrelated to the vehicle, like personal objects or loss of use, etc. However, in Portugal, there is also another convention about simultaneous vehicles, isn't it, Rodrigo?
Yes, indeed. And we call it ATAV. This is applied when the car accident occurred in a working situation. So this would need the involvement of the two insurance companies, auto and work. What this convention refers, it's up to the work insurance company to handle the bodily injury damage and then claim to the car insurance company. This is one of the conventions that we apply in cross-border claims. Every time is possible, of course. Rihanna, tell me about the conventions related to the article vehicles. How do they work in Spain?
Yes. Apart from the two conventions that we saw, SICOS and STM, there is also the convention of the articulated units, which is only applicable in Spanish territory. Foreign entities are not included in this agreement, but in cross-border claim, you can have to do with this convention. The convention specifies that the total amount of the costs that can be divided in an accident will be 70% for the truck insurer and 30% for the trailer insurer. Both together are considered as a functional unit which will compensate the injured third party. A while ago, the division was still 50-50, but for some time now, in order to harmonize this type of claims, the division has changed to 70-30. When 70/30 cannot apply, the claimant can file a lawsuit against one of the parties or against both. Then the court should establish a sentence, and that is usually a joint sanction. In Van Ameyde, in cases where we do not have the plate number of the tractor or the trailer, and the client cannot give us this information, we cannot oppose then the claim for compensation against the injured party. So in these cases, we will have to assume the 100% of the compensation. And once we hopefully obtain the tractor and the trailer data, it's possible to take an action of reimbursement of the part corresponding to the insurer. So now that we have seen some convention, let's have a look at the traditional claim handling. Same as for the language, Portuguese and Spanish have the same basis, with a few differences created over time. So there are similarities, but also some different habits. Let's try to explain some different procedures in claim handling and legislation. So Rodrigo, how is that regulated in your country?
Yes, unlike in other countries, in Portugal, the injury parties usually contact the insurance of the car that they supposedly responsible. Even when the convention applies, or if the injury party have their own damage coverage, the claimants contact the other insurance company and not their own insurance. Another thing they usually do, they call for everything. Just because they have an accident, just because they have sent an email, just because they have sent an email. This is a culture issue and, in fact, a bad habit, which is gradually changing. Another topic of this slide is the decree law. This is the issue that matters the most in any insurance company since 2007. This completely changed the perspective and the way of handling claims since that year. Everything is customized. I don't want to bother you with the intense information or deadlines, but let's take a view on the following tables in the next slides. They will give you an idea of how our system and regulator works. All steps of the handling process are duly customized, as I said before. For the material damage, the frame is divided in two parts. If there is a statement signed by both drivers or a claim presented by one of the parties. So, for example, the first step, anytime a company is contacted by one of the parties involved, he has 2 days to open the file and make the contact with it. He has to try to do all the things it's possible, send investigator, etc., to obtain all the data. He has 4 days to the conclusion of the assessment, or 6 if there is a need for the dismantling of the car. Related for assessment report, 2 days, because everything has to be shown to the owners of the car or the insured. You have 15 days for liability to pronounce about the claim, or in this case, 30 days if there is no statement of facts signed by both drivers. Payments, 8 days. What about the injury table? Again, the deadlines are different depending in the stage the statements signed by both drivers or not. Let's read a bit and try to identify some issues. As you can see, on the first step, request medical evaluation by our medical service, you have a difference of 40 days as a time limit, and not the double like happens in material damage. But for liability, you still have the same 45 days. For reasonable offer, you have the same deadlines. What you can easily conclude is that deadlines are very short and intense indeed. I will stop talking now, and please, Rihanna, tell us a bit what happens in Spain. Do you have something similar?
Well, in Spain, we do not have this, that the injured parties contact the insurer of the vehicle that is responsible. So we do not have that many phone calls like you have in Portugal, Rodrigo.
Indeed.
The injured party contacts its own insurer, who then contact the third party. In Spain, the law indicates that all owners of motor vehicles who normally have their business in Spain are obliged to have in force an insurance contract. This insurance will guarantee civil liability cover for vehicles normally based in Spain against third parties. It means that it covers material or personal damage caused as a result of an accident. It does not cover material or personal damage suffered by the driver himself. What you are saying, Rodrigo, about the deadlines for settlement in Portugal, in Spain we do not have so many legal delays on material damages. It's important to take into account that in the moment that we send a claim to the third-party insurer, in accordance with Article 7 of the Civil Liability and Insurance Act, the third party has 90 days to give an answer to our claim. After those 90 days, interests for late payment will start to run. Of course, in the case we receive a claim, we will have to make a reasoned offer or reply within 3 months, 90 days, of receipt of the claim from the injured party. In the case they are injured, and that is something you can see on the next slide, and in order to claim the injuries to the third party, Van Ameyde would need the first report of the Spanish hospital urgency department, where the injured was attended within the first 72 hours after the accident occurred in Spain. This is very important to send together with the claim to the third party. That would be a report like you see in the slide, like this one. There are a lot of different versions according to the different Spanish regions. However, it looks like this, with the necessary information: personal dates of the injured, the causes of the injury, the diagnostic guidance, and the recommendations. Once the injured have the definitive medical discharge, the complete quantified claim can be sent to the third party, with, of course, a request of acknowledgement of receipt of 7 days, so that you're sure that the third party received it. For that, we can use medical reports for the settlement of the claim, valuation of the documentation according to the calculation via the Spanish Bareme, and in the case of severe injuries, valuation according to the Bareme after medical visits. Concerning the material damage claim, the expert realizes the assessment based on all the text. That's compulsory in Spain. If the vehicle is repairable, the report is sent to the client. And we send to the garage a commitment that we will pay the costs of the repair according to the assessment and established excess. So, if the car is not repairable, like you can see on the next slide, we will inform the client about the market value of the car and the repair estimates and ask for the following documents in order to dispose of the car: the original of the vehicle registration documents, the keys, and a disposal document signed by the insured. After a few days, the engineer selects the best offer received from potential buyers and indicates the value of the salvage. Once then received, the documents are sent to the buyer, who will pay the storage fees to the garage and take away the car. Luckily so, in Spain, we do not have to report on all of this to the Spanish authorities, as we do not have a decree law in Spain. So let's see how that reports are regulated in Portugal, Rodrigo.
Yes, indeed, it's very intense also. For example, we have the fraud report that every claim is reported to a platform created by APS, that's mean the Portuguese Association of Insurance. Every liability, change of liability, and potential fraud or fraud detected. All this information is used in the fraud control tool, which I'll tell you later on. Another report, important, this is very important, the closed claims per year. At the end of each year, every company has 15 days to extract and submit all closed files according to the decree of law to ASF, which is the regulator of the insurance business, the frames that I have shown you before. After this submitting, you have the average time handling. This table reports the average handling time and as a published in each insurance website. It's compulsory for own damage, liability, and bodily injury. Last but not the least, the penalties. Indeed, an important aspect on our daily lives. If you're permitted to ask why we work so hard, let's see the next frame. As you can see it, the amount that any company can be sentenced to pay by not complying with the decree or law is extremely high. This can go from 3,000 to 44,000 or 750 till 24,000. Of course, some deadlines of the decree or law of the ending process can be interrupted by justification, for example, like total absence of contact or reaction from the third party, issues related with fraud and court, of course. Rihanna, do you have anything to say about these issues?
Well, in Spain, we do not have those fixed penalties, but after 90 days from the notification of the claim by the claimant is entitled to receive legal interests. However, more important is what is needed to avoid eventual penalties. Well, then you can send an offer of compensation or a recent replied letter denying the liability or the permission from the other party to extend in case the limit should be reached. In bodily injury claims, it's an obligation to have the injuries evaluated by a doctor, who then will calculate the corresponding compensation with the binding calculation tables of law. Another very important player in the Spanish market is the Guarantee Fund. It's a public business entity attached to the Ministry of Economy and Finance. The main functions of the Guarantee Fund are compensate those who have suffered material, property, or personal damages in the following situation. The accident occurred in Spain and the causal vehicle is unknown. The usual residence is in Spain and the damage has been caused by a vehicle that is not insured. The vehicle that caused the accident was the object of theft. When there is a dispute between the Guarantee Fund and the insurer, and when the insurance company has been declared bankrupt. But the Guarantee Fund also covers natural phenomena like extraordinary floods, earthquakes, tsunamis, or whatever natural catastrophe you can imagine, but also terrorism and the actions of the armed forces and security forces. As a foreign insurance company, if you want to operate on the Spanish market, you will have to adhere to the Guarantee Fund. That is compulsory. In Spain, we have very specific time limits to claim, even to the Guarantee Fund. How is that organized in Portugal? Rodrigo, do you have some time frames?
Yes, indeed. We have for that, for material damage, 3 years, material damage and recovers, 5 years with criminal proceeding, injuries or death. And we can only interrupt the prescription, legal prescription, by court, by hiring a lawyer to do that. But although there's some jurisprudence that has changed a bit, so for example, for us, the standard rule is 3 years and not 5 years for all the claims, just to be sure, because there are some issues that can change that. But of course, in Spain, it's not like that. Really?
It's different, yes.
Yeah.
Prescription in Spain for both material and bodily injury, in accordance to Article 9068, is just 1 year. So the deadline in Spain is very short. We as handler have to put always the control limit period in our echo tool in our claim handling system. And if there has not been any communication with a third party, the prescription can only be interrupted by a burofax. Before COVID, this was still interrupted by telegram, but homework forced Spain to go digital. So since then, we are using the registered postal service online. And now we have come to our last topic, which is fraud. Even if Rodrigo already mentioned fraud previously, how does that exactly work in Portugal?
Yes, like I referred before, APS, the Portuguese Insurance Association, created an IT tool called Segurnet that collects all the information provided by the members insured, all open files, liabilities, etc., etc. That tool allows us to check vehicles' history and if it's possibility of involvement in a fraud claim. This is independent of the tool that each insurance develops, whether it's IT or human resource level, to detect potential fraud. In fact, we do intense training to develop on our handlers the extra sense, that's 6 cents for detect potential fraud. How does it work in Spain, Rihanna?
Well, in Spain, fraud is registered by the insurance company themselves. There is a convention organism, a database with the historical data of the insured cars registered, so automatically the data are gathered by that organism. Concerning Van Ameyde, we have a fraud tool in our claim handling system ECHO, which works through fraud rules and detect cases if our assessors did not detect them before us. If we detect the fraud at the opening of the case, we can launch a fraud demand activity in our ecosystem manually. However, if the system detects the fraud itself, thanks to the fraud rules embedded in the back office, it will launch the activity automatically. The activity to handle the fraud case will be assigned to the fraud coordinator, who we have in each country, who will then draw up a fraud report to the client and advise about the steps to be taken. In Van Ameyde, we have regularly fraud trainings offered by our clients or organized by insurance company entities who bring together professionals in the insurance sector and offers various products, service and trainings. Like you can see in the next slide, in Spain, 2 out of 3 fraud cases occur in the motor insurance industry. Fraud in life and other sectors are very small. You can see that 63% of the fraud cases are produced in the motor sector. On the right side of the slide, you can see that the policyholder is the main party involved in the sector scams. In vehicles, property damage, own damage, and bodily injury are the most frequently defrauded coverages. In the next slide, you can see in the map that most fraud occurs in the south of Spain, where also mafia is active. I can give you 2 examples of big mafia cases in Spain. The first case was that a mafia group bought old vehicles, requesting the seller not to cancel the policy, as they needed the insurance in force to pass the MOT testing service. They took advantage of this circumstance to set up false bodily injury claims. This happened a few years ago. 30 accidents were falsely declared, involving 50 fictitious injured. Another example was that a group of people working in the same nightclub were involved in organizing staged accidents. However, it was so obvious that this was fraud that even their own lawyer resigned to represent them. That was in Malaga, where 20 false accidents and 40 fictitious injured were declared, which resulted in a total sum of 70,000 euros, which were claimed. So, with this fun fact, we have come to the end of our presentation. It was really a great pleasure for us to receive you in this webinar, and please don't hesitate to contact us afterwards if you have any question, because we will be very happy to answer them. On our behalf, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rodrigo and Rihanna, and everybody attending. We hope you liked it and that we touched on some interesting and important topics for you that clarify a bit the situation of Portugal and Spain. As you see or know, the webinar has been recorded and you can see it back if you like. And for that, you can send an email to marketing, where Ayla Waals will help you out. Ayla has been organizing behind the scenes our seminar. So thank you very much for that as well, Ayla. As said, if you have questions now, please feel free. We still have some time. We can try to pick up some of them. If we cannot answer them because they're too detailed or too long, then please send them to us and we will answer them by email. And thank you for joining us again. And thanks for the clapping. Ayla pulled up a poll. If you want to answer that what would you like to see as the next step in our webinars, because we also have now passed through all the countries. We have started some years ago with the UK and Ireland, then we moved to Germany, Austria and Switzerland, then we went to the Nordics, Benelux, France and Italy, and now as last countries it is Spain and Portugal. So with that, we would like to organize also some other webinars which might have your interest, and we would like to have some input from your side on that. So thanks if you can take the moment to submit this little poll. Furthermore, I don't see any questions on the site. Maybe let me check on the chat if there's something. Oh, I see the chat is turned off. Okay, then again, thanks, and please stay a bit connected to finish the poll, and I hope to see you soon next time.